And how do you know, as the founder, when you're at the point where you can scale more quickly? Because you're 30 locations in, including the 9 company owned. So Forrest, tell me about that. Where's that growth curve coming into play?
Well, we have several in development right now. I think we have 5 that are in development. We're very actively marketing on the franchise side. We have a franchise development group that we work with. So I've really outsourced the sales part of it to a company that really knows, likes, and trusts us, understands what we're trying to accomplish, and more importantly, understands who we want to partner with, because we are very particular in what we're looking for in franchisees. And so, yeah, I'm excited. We really had to hit the pause button over COVID, and that was a very, very hard year for the fitness industry. 30 that I've read anywhere from 30 to 50% of gyms closed. We took a significant, probably 30% gross haircut as a brand, but have bounced back stronger, and so really back on the growth path.
That's awesome. How big is big? What's your vision for the company?
I want to get my BHAG is to be $100 million brand, so we got at least 5x.
What about geographically? Do you see this coast to coast? What's it going to take to get there?
Well, we've been, I mean, up to this point, have really been a Southeast brand. I mean, we're basically from Texas to Charleston and Tampa to Kentucky. So we've really been all Southeast. I think it can work. We're just kind of, to your point earlier, we're basically growing based on where we've gotten interest, and just haven't gotten a lot of interest outside of the Southeast.
Hey, that's fine. And maybe even growing regionally is really the best bet for you, right? And kind of spreading out from there.
Seems that way.
Again,
Yeah.
that is a philosophy, that different philosophy that franchisors have to, make a decision on. Do we just go shotgun approach, or do we start from home, and do we just kind of spread out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of happened more unintentionally than intentionally, but I definitely see the wisdom in staying more regional just from a support standpoint.
So Forrest, let's go back to that 24-year-old. If you had to go back to the 24-year-old now and tell him, what would be a piece of advice you would tell your younger self?
It's been such a circuitous journey. There literally have been times I thought I was never going to have to worry about money again. And there are times I felt like I was going to go bankrupt, and everything in between. And so I think my advice to that kid would be, listen, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. Just stay the course. Keep stacking skills, keep learning and executing. You're going to be just fine.
That is great advice for everybody, young or old. And what's been your biggest surprise, though, in franchising?
The biggest surprise is someone who comes in because they don't want to reinvent the wheel. And you take them through your whole process, and they sit down with you at Discovery Day and they say, man, I would never want to do what you guys have done. I so appreciate the systems, the technology, yada, yada, yada. And then a year in, they're reinventing the wheel. And they're creating new programs, and they're creating new this and new that. And you're like, I'm so confused right now. We got a playbook. So yeah, it's just, and I guess it's just that entrepreneurial itch we all have. They feel like they want to, test things, which testing's okay. But
Right.
yeah, I'm shocked when people don't execute the playbook.
Is the pot calling the kettle black?
Well, that's true. That's true.
I'm
So
saying
maybe
that.
they see.
I'm saying that lovingly as a fellow franchisor.
Yep. But it's funny when I look back at what we had as a young franchisee in that system, there wasn't a lot of structure.
Right.
Like, I feel like if I had not, especially on the marketing side, if I had not veered out and found things that would work, I don't know how long I would have been open.
Right.
But then I look at what I provide and I'm like, you don't have to do any of that. It's all
Exactly.
there. So,
I don't know. There have been so many surprises I found in franchising. Maybe the flip side has been most surprising to me, when I get somebody who pays us the big franchise fee, and then it's like, okay, I think my work is done here. It's like, are you kidding me? The work has literally just started. Like,
yes.
You bought a business. You didn't buy a piece of real estate. And that's always been kind of fascinating.
Agreed. I've seen that very same dynamic.
I think the other dynamic that's unique is in the fitness industry. The people that are buying fitness franchises, because it is a passion play, is it not? I mean, if you're not passionate about fitness, you're not going to buy a fitness franchise.
100%.
And then the other challenge, which I think may be similar to something that my experience was too, because I was in sports, people knew something about it. That's why they're bringing in fitness. They come to Iron Tribe and they know something about fitness, so they're trying to put their, fingerprint on it. I don't think there's anything wrong with having guardrails that people are within, but I think you would probably also agree that what made you so successful is your ability within a system to trying things out, but as long as it's a controlled growth, right? Or controlled trial where you guys are, you have a laboratory that you guys are agreeing to work with.
Yes, absolutely. Because what I clearly did not have the ability to do was to figure out all the what ifs. I didn't know, should it be a membership gym? Should it be a personal training only gym? What kind of equipment should I was paralyzed by all those things. So the fact that they came and said, here's your equipment package, here's how many square feet you're looking for, here's your logo. Yes, it gave me a box that allowed me to kind of get my entrepreneurial feet up under me.
Right. And also the big difference, of course, I was just messing with you about the pot calling the kettle black, but seriously though, Fitness Together was a little bit different because it sounds like they did not have the systems and processes together. You had all this freedom because there weren't things in place. With Iron Tribe Fitness, there is a system and process in place. You have a proven successful model.
I mean, I've learned from that. As being a multi-unit franchisee, as being a master franchisee, what is needed to execute the model. So whether it's our tech, our learning management system, our documentation, our, where all the documents are stored, the support visits we do, like everything has been built out of what did I need to be a successful franchisee so that I can deliver it to them.
You, again, have the most unique experience of anybody I've interviewed. And I think that that is such a huge leadership advantage for your franchisees. Besides that obvious fact, though, what would you say is another, probably your greatest leadership strength that your franchisees would say, about you, Forrest?
I'm really passionate about the vision and our core values and kind of all the ethereal, behind the scenes, like what is our why? Why are we doing this? Real early on, I think it was one of our first franchise conference, we had a speaker talk about make sure you guys always keep the bottom line, change lives. And we've really codified that over the years of ultimately the way we're going to measure success is, are we changing lives or not? And P&L is great. Item 19 is great. But at the end of the day, it's why we start every single meeting with a life change story. So if I'm on with multiple franchisees, they got to start with give me one story of someone in your gym whose life is being changed. And so that way it's just an ongoing, constant conversation around, oh my gosh, let me tell you about Frank. He's down 30 pounds. He's off all his diabetes medication. He said, just constant. It's just a reminder of why we do. So what am I particularly? I love telling the story. I love communicating why we started, why our core values are what they are. I love finding and rewarding my people living out our core values. So that's when I get pumped.
You're making so much of an impact on people's lives, and to start the meeting with a celebration, I think that's, first of all, that's like a cornerstone of so much in business coaching, is starting out with what's working, right? What's going well. Let's start by what are we here to celebrate?
So we've always done a positive focus, 30 to 60 seconds on what's going well personally or professionally. And then we just stack that. So now it's positive focus, life change story. So you do something personal and then you talk about someone who you're impacting.
That's great. Tell me, what would be some advice you'd give to people who are considering joining Iron Tribe as a franchise? What do they need to know?
Yeah, I would think a couple things. One, you need to check a couple of boxes that, you are passionate about fitness. I find it interesting. I think in a lot of franchise spaces, when someone says, there's, the question in the questionnaire says, what other businesses are you exploring? I think it's pretty common in other franchise spaces to find people who are exploring a wide variety of businesses. Maybe they're working with a broker and the broker's saying, based on your parameters, you could do oil change business, a battery business, a cell phone business, or a fitness business. But when I'm talking to people, no one ever says I'm looking at anything else, because they're passionate about fitness. Now, they may be looking at other brands inside of the fitness industry. And I think largely that's because this is a passion and a lifestyle play. And I also am a firm believer that not only do I need to operate my own gyms, but I need to live from the front with my own body. And so if I'm not, and again, it doesn't mean you have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or getting on stage, but you better be working out 3 to 4 times a week. You better be doing your own program. You better be eating healthy. Like this is a more is caught than taught type of industry, and you're not going to have a lot of credibility if you're not living it. So at the end of the day, is fitness something you're passionate about? And then the other thing to really marry up to that is, are you a leader? Do you know how to build, motivate, and lead a team? And do you have a track record of that? Have you done it, in college? Have you done it with your career? Have you done it? Have you volunteered outside of your? I mean, I need to see a track record of you leading, because when you become a franchisee, it's not going to be about you and your skills inside of the gym. It's going to be about you hiring, building, training, using our tools to build up your team. But ultimately, you've got to be leading that team. So if those two things align, we have a proven process that works and can be scaled.
Sure. And it's a challenge if they're not. If they don't, if they don't have that personality where they think it's all about being in the gym. It's just like any franchise concept. If you're passionate about the food, you need to be, that's great, but you need to be really passionate about the business of food, or you're passionate about sports. You gotta be really passionate about management, marketing, finance, accounting, technology, because ultimately that's really what's going to make this thing tick, especially in your model where the only way you're going to survive is through scale of, and through other people.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I would add is you do have to love people.
Yes.
And not only our customers, I think that's obvious, but your team. Like you really have to want your team to win and build them a career. And when you do that, it's a win-win-win solution. Clients win because they have the best coaches in the brand. Your staff wins because now they can do what they love and build a career, and you win because you have great margins and a successful business.
Right. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.